Welcome to today's webinar, Crypto Quant Trading, How to Beat the Market. We're going to wait a few minutes to let all the participants log in. Thank you for participating in our webinar, which is going to forecast the newest Blocksize Capital release, the Quant SDK. In preparation to the Q&A session, I would like you to invite all participants to join our WhatsApp group. There you can ask the questions and we will select a few of them after the presentation to answer. Today's webinar will be divided into 3 segments. Firstly, we're going to outline the current issues faced by the cryptocurrency investors and traders on an institutional level. We live in a new era where disruptive technologies are drastically challenging the status quo of capital markets and leading to new customer demands. As leading software providers for digital assets, Blocksize Capital understands this change as an opportunity and it's providing key infrastructure to overcome these challenges. In the second place, we're going to perform a live demonstration of the Quant SDK, an open source Python wrapper that enables data scientists and quant traders to seamlessly access vast market data sets. Finally, we are hosting a Q&A to address all your inquiries. For that, our quant trader, Chris Minter, and the head of sales and business development, Thomas Langbein, will be answering the questions collected through the WhatsApp chat during the session. This is also an opportunity for us to exchange ideas about potential improvement as well as future collaboration. So please go ahead and scan this QR code to log into our WhatsApp group. Now I'm gonna do the introduction to our managing director, Christian Labyrinth, which is going to do the quick overview of Blocksize Capital Solutions.
Many thanks, Luisa. Before we start, a few words about us. For those that do not know Blocksize yet, we are a technology company that provides high-performance infrastructure to asset managers and financial institutions, as you can see on that slide, to manage, trade, and transfer assets, which is essentially the post-trade settlement process. This infrastructure will be, in our opinion, highly vital to a new ecosystem that is currently evolving, because the way that digital assets, including cryptocurrencies, are traded and stored and settled between an exchange and a custody account is completely different than to how traditional assets are currently settled. And with the emergence of more security tokens, for example, but also cryptocurrencies becoming more and more popular, there's clearly a demand from the institutional side to have such an infrastructure in place. As you can see from a few clients that we are displaying on that slide, we're already trusted by financial institutions, technology providers that have included our solution, and also Chainlink, for example, using our market data. On the next slide, we see that essentially everything related to our infrastructure is based on a high interoperability. To interact with our solution, you have different methods. So, for example, you could access our market data, including historic data, but also real-time data of more than 30 crypto exchanges that we have connected to our module via an API. Also, the entire trading process of interacting and placing orders on exchanges and managing your accounts could happen through the trading API. Something that we are rolling out very soon will be a connectivity layer to also interact with your existing custody accounts, custodial wallets. And by slicing our product and our solution, our infrastructure into those 3 areas, the idea is that we cover all processes from aggregating assets in one place, trading them across multiple trading venues, and then also cover the entire post-trade settlement. That means transferring a Bitcoin, for example, that you have bought on an exchange into your custody account. The presentation that Chris is about to give you will be a little bit technical, but don't be afraid. We're going to also show you our other product, which is Blocksize Metrics, because you have different ways of interacting with our backend. and accessing those services being made available through APIs. One thing obvious is the end user screen or terminal, which is called Blocksize metrics, which we're going to display first in order to give you an idea about how the features could be used and what it does look like from a more user experience perspective. And then really spending some time looking into the Quant SDK, which is exactly that, a software development kit that allows you through a Python module which we have developed to interact with our trading application and run your strategies. Enough of theory. Let's have a look at our live solution. And over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Christian. So before we dive into the Quant SDK and the applications which we can use it for when it comes to accessing historic market data or implementing live trading strategies, I want to first bring you through the timeline of how we got to where we are now and show you the dashboard on Blocksize Matrix. So this is the front end of our solutions here, Blocksize Matrix. And what this does is you can see on the dashboard here is an overview of all the recent market updates. So over the past 24 hours here, we can have a look at the Bitcoin Euro chart. And this really serves as a cool something to look at in terms of market visualization. As well as this, we can look at the open, high, low, close. We can see earlier today there was a wick down to 12,800. So the dashboard here gives us an overview of basically what's happened in the market in the past 24 hours. And it's a cool data visualization tool. And what I really find quite cool is our portfolio overview. So the problem with trading cryptocurrencies, and I found this a few years ago, is that there are so many different venues and exchanges that you can access. And trying to log in and trade on any of these exchanges, you've got usernames, passwords, you have to verify authentication codes. And as well as this, your funds can be split across multiple different exchanges. And so what Blocksize offers here is a solution where we can see our portfolio in one interface. So for example, on this breakdown here of our portfolio overview, we can see exactly what percentage of our portfolio is split and to how this is determined. For example, looking at the Bitcoin, we've got 49% of our holdings on the Bittrex exchange on this account and 50% on the Binance exchange. As well as this, we can see a cool breakdown of all the other tokens that we hold on this account. As well as this, we can look at the aggregated positions. So this will show you the total amount of tokens for each that we hold. So for here, we can see that we have a total holdings of 57 on Ethereum. And as well as this, we can have an overview of our fiat assets. So we have 2,300 euro, and we can look at the breakdown of that. 70% of that is on the Binance exchange currently. It's about 1,600 euro. And similarly, there's about 700 euro on the Bittrex exchange. And what's nice about this is whenever we trade across any of these connected exchanges, it's just a simple API connection. So we just need to enable an API key to be able to access the data from all of these exchanges through Blocksize Core. It's one unified API. And any trades that happen between these connected exchanges, the portfolio is updated, and it just makes it so much easier because, I mean, there does exist these portfolio tracking apps, but whenever you place a trade, you have to update it manually, and it can be quite tedious. I think this is quite cool. Furthermore, we can look at market depth, which is, I mean, in terms of data visualization, this is really cool. So instead of looking at any of the individual exchanges, we have one interface here where we can look at multiple exchanges. So right now we're going to look at the Bitcoin Euro pair. And I mean, this is just a small selection of the exchanges that are connected to this account. And we can see the order book, a layered order book of these exchanges, which is really quite cool. Right here, we can see that right now there's 30 basis points spread, negative spread of 43 euro, which is, I mean, to actually be able to see this is quite cool. And if we can zoom in on this layered order book information, and right now it's possible, we could see here on the Kraken exchange, it's actually possible to buy Bitcoin at around 13,420 euro. And similarly, it's possible to sell it on a Binance exchange at 13,448 euro. So just looking at this alone, just visually, we can see there still exists some market inefficiencies in this is just in the Bitcoin euro pair on cryptocurrency markets. Okay, and something else in terms of our user interface in terms of trading when it comes to order entry. So through the API connections, we can actually place trades right now on any of our connected exchanges. It saves us the hassle of logging in and managing everything. We can just determine right here, right now, as well as place simulated trades. We can do that on any of these selected exchanges. For example, this shows you how we can choose our exchanges. And I want to talk a little bit about the Blocksize Smart Order Router as an option for trading. So what the Blocksize Smart Order Router does is it scans all of the connected exchanges to your Matrix account. So it looks at all the exchanges that you have connected. And if, for example, I'm going to simulate a 100 Bitcoin sell, right? Selling 100 Bitcoin, I'm going to simulate this trade using the Blocksize Smart Order Router. I haven't specified an exchange, right? So instead of specifying an exchange, I'm going to use the Blocksize Smart Order Router, and I'll explain a bit more about the details behind the Smart Order Router. Okay, so what this has done is it has inspected the order books of all the currently connected exchanges to this account. And what it has done is it has split the funds accordingly based on a way that we can minimize market impact and maximize the amount of euros you get in return for selling this 100 Bitcoin, okay? So the distribution right now, 85% of that trade would have happened on the Bitfinex exchange, and we can see 9% on the Binance exchange. And here we can have a look at the average execution price of each of these trades, the amount of them which took place, okay? That's just a simulated trade. And here we can see some of our savings that we would have made based on placing this trade on one exchange alone. Now, the savings calculation varies quite a lot depending on volatility in the market. But you're always saving money using the Smart Order Router because you're getting the best average execution price possible. What this does is it looks at the order books of all the connected exchanges and optimizes the trade in such a way to minimize market impact. And when it comes to selling Bitcoin, it'll give you the most amount of euro in return. Similarly, when you're buying Bitcoin, it will cost you the least amount of euros possible for that to buy that amount of Bitcoin using the Smart Order Router. Okay, and now I'm just going to place a real trade. So I've turned off the simulation mode, and I am going to buy 0.05 Bitcoin. Just an example to show you guys I'm going to choose the Binance exchange. All right. So what order type? We can choose a market order or a limit order. I'm going to just market by 0.05 Bitcoin on the Binance exchange right now. Okay, and I'm going to execute this order. Okay, now this order has been placed on the Binance exchange. And so this is how we actually place trades using our order entry. All right, and we can see here that the status as well of the trade, right? So we can see the status, and this trade has been filled. We have our average execution price. Yeah, so this is the front end of Blocksize Matrix. And this is when we decided, okay, this is really cool, right? But if we want to automate trading, how can we go about doing that? So the development team and the quant team, what we did is we decided, right, well, we have access to so much information through our Blocksize core API. And what we did was we've created an open source Python wrapper, okay? And we're going to go through more details now of this in the Quant SDK demonstration of how we can actually use the Quant SDK for quantitative trading, right? And okay, so for quantitative trading, what do we actually need? Well, a major barrier for cryptocurrency traders and something which is really hard to access is accurate market data, okay? So the Quant SDK can be used to access accurate historic market data as well as real-time market data. So I'm going to open up PyCharm now. So in terms of what do you need to actually use the Quant SDK, you need a good internet connection, Python, and a Blocksize core API token. Okay. Now the Quant SDK is an open source Python wrapper. It can be installed like any library, like Pandas or NumPy. But in order to actually access the market data and get access to the exchanges, you need to provide an API token. Okay, so I'm just going to go through a quick demonstration of how we can start using the Quant SDK. So I'm going to import the Quant SDK. I'm going to call it, just for this sake, the SDK. And I'm going to initialize this block size class. So you're probably wondering what's going on right now. Okay, so the block size class contains all the functions which we use through the Quant SDK in terms of getting market data, in terms of placing orders. But in order to, this class is initialized by giving it a Blocksize API token. So in order to use any of the functions, we need to provide an API token, and that can be done. We can create these API tokens from Matrix when we have a look at our settings and creating API tokens for Blocksize core. All right. So I'm going to now create an API token. I'm going to call it test5, let's say. And here is my API token, which I've created. And now I have successfully initialized this Blocksize class. Okay, so now I can actually start accessing the functions and the features of the Quant SDK, right? Because I have provided it with the API token. All right, so just straight away, I want to show you how easily it is to access real-time market data. So what we can do here, and we tried to make this as intuitive as possible. So the names of these functions, I want the users to be able to actually use them easily, because it can be quite difficult at times. We need to be clear in what we're doing, right? So when we want to get the open, high, low close, for example, if I want to get the recent open, high, low close of any pair, let's say on a connected exchange, what do I need to do? Okay, and straight away the function prompts the inputs. So we need to input a base currency, a quote currency, and a time interval under which we wish to investigate. So for example, if I wish to look at the open, high, low close of the Bitcoin euro pair for the past hour, all right, how do I do that? Well, the function straight away prompts your inputs, right? So we need to first specify a base currency. And for this example, I'm just going to choose Bitcoin. A quote currency, and for this example, we'll look at euros, and our interval. And I'm going to pick 1 hour. Okay, so I'm going to look at what this is going to return is the open, high, low close of the Bitcoin euro pair for the past hour. And we can see what data type is needed to be input into the function as well. So the base data type needs to be a string, the quote needs to be a string, and the time interval needs to be a string. Okay, now I'm going to print this result so you can see the response. And when I run this file, okay, our response here is the open, high, low close with various information. It's a dictionary, right? And we can parse through this data to get whatever information we want from it. But this is just a quick example of how we can get market data using the Quant SDK. And we're not restricted to just Bitcoin euro, right? We can choose any of the pairs on our connected exchanges and multiple different timeframes. For example, if I just wanted to get the open, high, low close of the Ethereum euro pair for the past, I don't know, let's say 5 minutes, okay? And here we have it, right? And we've got information about the ticker and the timestamp, etc. Right, now that's just a very basic introduction of how easy it is to actually get real-time market data using the Quant SDK. And now I'm going to show you guys about accessing the historic market data. And this is where things get interesting, because access to historic market data is really desired amongst traders, right? Especially accurate historic market data. So in this example here, I'm going to show you how we actually go about doing that, right? So the function that we use is, it's called get historic open, high, low close. Okay, we can get a historic volume weighted average price, or we can get historic open, high, low close of pairs across all of our connected pairs across multiple timeframes. But what do we need to actually provide in order to get this data in return? All right, so this get historic open, high, low close function. And when you hover over the function, you can actually see what is required as an input, right? So to get historic open, high, low close data, we need to provide a base currency, a quote currency, our interval, our start date and our end date. All right. So in this example here, right, what I'm looking at is the Bitcoin euro pair, and I want to get the historic open, high, low, close every 5 minutes from our start date to our end date. Now, in this example, I know some of you guys might be confused at the moment, but what is this start date and end date? What does this represent? Well, basically, I've chosen here the 1st of September 2020 as our start date and the 1st of November as our end date. Now, the reason why I'm converting this to timestamps is because if you use timestamps as your start date and end date, it allows the user to be as accurate as possible when it comes to selecting data. So you can be down to the second, you can decide when you want to start and end your data collection. So what this will do is it will get the historic open, high, low, close of the Bitcoin euro pair every 5 minutes from the 1st of September until the 1st of November. Okay, and what this function does is it returns a data frame. And we can do whatever we want with this data frame. Data scientists can use it to analyze price action or to test strategies on, etc. And what's really cool is we're not just limited to the Bitcoin euro pair or 5 minutes. Like for traders who are looking for more higher frequency trading strategies, we can narrow this time frame down to 1 second data. As well as those who are interested in a longer time horizon, we can get data for 24-hour periods, etc. So we get to choose the input, which is really cool. So to get historic open, high, low, close, we'll return a data frame, and all I'm doing here is I am saving this data frame to my desktop. All right, I just want to create a CSV file with this information. I'm going to call it Bitcoin euro 5 minutes CSV file, and I just want to save this to my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to run this file. All right, and we're finished. So I'm just going to double check on my desktop. And here we have it, right? This Bitcoin euro 5 minute CSV. If I open this, what I actually have now is a timestamp, the open, high, low, and close price of the Bitcoin euro pair every 5 minutes from the 1st of September until the 1st of November, right? This is quite a large file here, all right? And that just shows how easy it actually is to get historic market data. Something else which would be cool to show you is it's not just limited to Bitcoin euro pair, right? If, for example, you wanted data from the Ethereum euro pair, and you wanted, instead of every 5 minutes, you wanted hourly data, we can do that as well. And I'm just going to call this CSV file. I'm going to create a new CSV file, save it to my desktop, and call it ETH euro 1 hour. Okay, and if I run this file, this is finished. And if we look at desktop here, this has created a new CSV file, ETH euro 1 hour, which contains the open, high, and low and close price of Ethereum every hour again. So yeah, this is just a quick example of how we can actually use the Quant SDK to access historic market data. And then once you have this data, you can do what you want with it, right? You can, if you might be just simply interested in a volume weighted average price, right? Similarly, we can get the volume weighted average price rather than just getting the open, high, low, close, right? It's another function here, get historic volume weighted average price, which takes similar inputs, a base currency, a quote currency, your time interval, your start date, and your end date. And so I hope this example was quite clear, and I hope it's clear how easy it actually is to get historic market data when you're connected to the Quant SDK. Okay, and now what I want to have a look at is order book data. Okay, so yes, we saw on the front end how we can look at all these different connected exchanges, and we can see really cool data visualization tools. We can see overlapping order books. But if we want to actually implement a trading strategy based on the condition of those order books, how do we access that data, and how do we find those conditions, right? So, and this example here, all I'm going to do is show you guys how we can actually access order book data through the Quant SDK. And so again, this function here, guys, is just we're looking to get order book data. All right, we try to make the functions as explanatory as possible. So now I want to get order book data. And again, we're prompted, what are our inputs necessary? Okay, we need to specify our exchange. In this example, I'm going to look at the Binance exchange. We need to specify our base currency. Okay, let's look at Bitcoin. We need to decide on a quote currency. And for this example, I'll just pick euro. And finally, the final input is the depth. It's how deep in the order book do we actually want to look. So if we just wish to get the best the best bid and ask price. With this value is just 1, but we can look much deeper into the order book if we wish. If we want to get the best 5, 10, 20, 30 bid and ask prices on any of the exchanges, we can do that. Okay. So what this get request basically is just going to give us the best bid and ask price on the Bitcoin euro pair on the Binance exchange. And I'm going to print this so you can see the result. All right. So if I run this, and here is our response, we have our exchange, which is Binance. We have the ask price of 13,484, along with the corresponding volume of that ask, as well as the bid of 13,483, along with the corresponding volume. All right, and we can parse through this data to get whatever information we wish. So we want to give the user as much power as possible to actually use the data provided, so you can create any type of trading logic you wish. For example, if we are just interested in the asks on the Binance exchange, I can parse through this data. And if I just want to have a look at the asks, okay, so I'm going to look at the asks, and I'm just interested in the ask price. I'm not interested in the volume, let's say. I just want to have a look at the price. Okay, and if I run this file here, in response, we get the price and the volume associated. But if I just want the price, yeah, we can do that too. Okay, so this just shows you that while you might get a whole host of information in your response, you can parse the data as you wish. Okay, so that's just a quick example of getting an order book data from an individual exchange. Let's say, for example, I create a list of exchanges. I'm going to Binance, Coinbase, and let's say Kraken. All right, so here I've just listed 3 exchanges. Now, Blocksize is connected to over 30 different exchanges, and we can get market data on all of those exchanges, but I just picked 3 here that we're going to look at. We can create a loop. So for exchange in exchanges, what this is going to do is it's just going to print out the order book data of these 3 exchanges. I know this Python code isn't optimized, but I just want to make sure everybody can see exactly what I'm actually trying to do in this demonstration. I'm aware that there may be people watching who have no experience using Python, as well as industry professionals, quant traders. So bear with me for these examples. So for exchange in exchanges, what I want to do is I want to print out the order book data, the best bid and ask price on those corresponding exchanges. Okay. So I need to specify the exchange I want. I'm just going to call it exchange. My base currency, which I'll call Bitcoin. Quote currency, we'll choose euro. And how deep do we want to look in the order book? Let's say 1. So what is this going to do? The logic here is it's going to iterate through each of the exchanges and simply print out the best bid and ask price for Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken. Okay, and if I run this file here, all right, now we can see the best bid and ask price on the Binance exchange, the Coinbase exchange, and the Kraken exchange. And we can do this for all of the exchanges that are connected to Blocksize. It just makes it so much easier to have one API where all of this can be done. Yeah, it's really quite cool, I think. All right, that's just an example of how we can actually look at order book data. And now we're going to get down to something more interesting, is actually trading using the Quant SDK. So next we want to look at order simulation. Okay, so how can we, let's say, for example, we've seen in an example of accessing historic data. Okay, so historic data, that's fine. We've shown you how we can save these to a CSV, and then this can be used for further analysis if we wish to implement some sort of testing on a trading strategy which we'd like to take live. And let's say you're at the stage where you think you found an edge, or you found something that you'd wish to start implementing. Well, I mean, it's always a good idea to first simulate the trading strategy before actually bringing it live. And again, we can actually simulate trades here again. And in this example, I just want to show you how we can use the Quant SDK to actually simulate trades. So, okay, again, here we have it. We need to post a simulated order, and you should be prompted to the inputs that are required for each input. And I'm gonna include the keywords in these inputs so that it's clear for everybody who's watching. So, all right, what's the first input that we need to define? That's our base currency. Okay, and I'm gonna say the base currency in this example, right? We'll choose Bitcoin. Okay, our quote currency, I'm gonna choose that to be euro. okay, what direction mean? Do we want to buy or sell, right? Do we want to buy or sell? And in this simulated order, let's say we want to buy. And now we need to specify the quantity. All right, let's say I want to buy let's say I want to buy 5 Bitcoin, right? I want to buy 5 Bitcoin. And where do I want to buy this, right? Now, we have an option of choosing any exchange at all that's connected to Blocksize Core. But also, if you don't want to specify an exchange, what will happen then is you will be reverted back to the smart order router, and the trade will take place will be split across the exchange, such as it will, I mean, if it's a buy order for 5 Bitcoin, it'll minimize the amount of euro required spent to obtain 5 Bitcoin. Okay, and for this example, I'm just going to choose, right, Coinbase Exchange, right? So I'm just going to ensure that the keyword is here so that you can follow exactly what all of our inputs are. And finally, we have this option here called unlimited funds. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about unlimited funds, right? So unlimited funds, when we're simulating orders, we have this option of setting our unlimited funds to be true. So initially, when you're simulating orders, what you want to do is basically, you need to check if you can actually place the trade in the first place. So yeah, you might want to simulate it because you're not quite confident enough that the trading strategy you want is going to be profitable. However, you want it to reflect the actual trades that you intend on doing when you bring it live. So you have the option of setting your unlimited funds to true or false, which means you can simulate a trade based on the funds that you actually have on the exchanges, or we can also simulate trades and pretend that we have an unlimited amount of funds in any of these exchanges. So right now, it's quite clear what all of our inputs are here to this function for a post-simulated order. And I do not have enough euro on my Coinbase exchange right now to buy 5 Bitcoin. So when I actually simulate this trade, it should fail because I have unlimited funds set to false, right? So I'm going to print the response to this here. So now I'm simulating a Bitcoin buy order. I'm going to buy 5 Bitcoin on the Coinbase exchange, and I have unlimited funds set to false. Okay. All right. And here we go. And this is our response. Now there's a whole host of information here again, in terms of latency, order ID, quantity, and the status of the trade, average execution price. So let's investigate it, right? So this dictionary here, we have loads of different responses, and the trade failed, right? And the reason for this failure is insufficient funds, which is what we expected because I have set unlimited funds to be false. However, if I wish to post a simulated order and enable fund, basically we just set that to true, right? Now it's going to buy Bitcoin, but it assumes that I have an unlimited funds on the Coinbase exchange. And here we have more information about the average execution price, and we can see that this trade actually took place. Okay, that's an example of how we can simulate orders. Yeah, and just to make things a small bit more interesting, if, for example, we wanted to do a small for loop, so for I in range, let's say 10, right? Very, very basic. So what this is going to do is it's going to simulate an order I'm going to simulate this order. It's going to loop through this. So I initially is 0, it'll post a simulated order, and it will do this, and I'm going to do this every 2 seconds. Okay, so this is going to place a simulated order of buying 5 Bitcoin. I mean, if you're placing trades every 2 seconds, you're more than likely looking at some sort of high frequency strategy. So let's say we want to buy 0.05 BTC, and I want to run this file now. And here we can see every 2 seconds, you can see here, I just printed a response so you can see what's happening. This is like, I'm not doing anything now. These trades are automated, just simulating orders based on no logic at all other than just going through this for loop. But to make it slightly more interesting, let's say I want to simulate an order. I want to buy Bitcoin if the price of Bitcoin is below 14,000 euro. Now, I mean, I could talk about correlation and co-integration across different pairs and spreads and things, but for the purpose of this demonstration, I just want to show you a very basic logic of how we can actually use it for trading. So let's say I want to look at the price of Bitcoin right now, and if it is I want to get the volume weighted average price of Bitcoin, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm getting the price of Bitcoin euro pair for the last second, right? So, so what this is going to get what I'm doing here is I'm getting the price of Bitcoin for the volume weighted average price of Bitcoin for the last second, right? And then what I want to do is if the volume weighted average price of Bitcoin for the last second is less than, let's say, I mean, Bitcoin has been increasing a lot today, so let's just make it 14,000, right? Okay, so if the price of Bitcoin is less than 14,000, then what I want to do is print a simulated order, to buy 0.05 BTC on the Coinbase exchange, or I'm going to say it's a while loop, right? So while the price of Bitcoin is less than 14,000, we'll do this, right? So let's run this. And all right, so obviously Bitcoin is less than 14,000 euro right now. This is simulating these trades. It's placing these simulated trades based on the fact that Bitcoin is less than 14,000 euro. It will continue to place these trades until Bitcoin exceeds 14,000 euro, and then it will stop. All right. So that's just a quick example of how we can actually place trades based on some very basic logic. Okay. All right. And that's just an example of simulated orders. Okay, let's have a look at market orders, right? Something else you might want to look at. So that was a simulated order, but now let's just place a real order. Okay, it's very similar to placing a simulated order and market limit orders, whatever type of order you wish. For this example, let's just post the market order. Okay, and again, I mean, it might be getting repetitive at this stage, but that's good because you're getting familiar with the software, right? So, all right, we need to specify our base currency. I'll go a bit quicker through this example. I'm going to choose Bitcoin. Our quote currency, euro. A direction, let's say we want to buy Bitcoin. Our quantity, all right, let's say I want to buy 0.005 BTC. What exchange do I want to buy it on? Let's say Binance. All right, here we go. That's all the information that's required to actually post a market order. And I'm going to print out the response to this, right? So what this will do is this will actually place a buy order of 0.005 BTC on the Binance exchange, right? It's that easy, right? Okay. Okay, and now here we have our response. We have our order ID, which can be used for tracking orders. And this response here is basically telling us that the trade has been placed, okay? Now this immediate response is just that the trade has been placed, but if we wanna actually inspect the status of the trade, we can do that by checking the order status, all right? So now I'm just gonna simply check the order status. So I'm gonna print the order status. And the only input into this function is the order ID, right? Which I have obtained. I just copied it from the response here to this first order. This is our order ID. And this order status will tell me, okay, what's the actual status of that trade that we just placed. I'm doing this quite sequentially. I mean, we can automate this too, but I just want to make sure that everybody watching this demonstration has an idea of what we're actually doing. Okay, so let's run this file. Okay, and then we get more information about the status of the trade. It's been placed. Like, there's so much information here, but we want you to have this information because different strategies can depend on so many different metrics, right? So the trade status, what exchange the trade took place on, the quantity of the trade. In the status report, we can look at the average execution price, the timestamp of when the trade was placed, when it was executed. There's really so much that's there, okay? And what's really cool about the Quant SDK is that it's simply just a Python package that you install, right? It's open source, and all you really need is a good internet connection, Python, and the Blocksize API token. But also, with the state of cryptocurrency markets, it's a lot different to capital markets in that there's so many insights we can use and metrics to determine some sort of trading strategy. We've got on-chain metrics and things like that, but anything, you can incorporate so much into this. All you need to do is install the Quant SDK, and then you have access to all of these exchanges. You can place trades on all of these exchanges, as well as access market data, which is I think is really quite cool. And I'm just conscious of time, so I just want to show you guys just something that I prepared earlier. Like this is just something you might find interesting, something that I wrote that you might like to have a look at. So in this file, what I'm doing here is I am showing you guys, I've listed out some exchanges, right? And there's over 30 exchanges connected, but I've just picked some of these out of interest. And here, what I'm actually doing is, all right, I'll explain some of this. So I am getting the order book data of the Bitcoin USDT pair. So that's Tether, US dollar Tether. I'm looking at the best bid and ask price on all of these exchanges, right? So I've got a list of all of these exchanges. I want to get the best bid and ask price across all of these exchanges and check, because when we looked at the data visualization on Matrix, we saw the layered order book data, and we could actually visually see some market inefficiencies. But now we want to investigate that a bit further, let's say. So what I'm doing right now is I'm basically querying for the order book data across all these exchanges and the Bitcoin USDT pair. And then what I am doing is I'm adding these to a data frame and filtering them based on the best bid and ask price. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm checking the order book of each of these exchanges. I'm finding where is the cheapest exchange where I can actually buy Bitcoin USDT right now. So out of all of these exchanges, which exchange is offering me the best price to buy Bitcoin with USDT right now? And similarly, which exchange is offering me the best price if I wanted to sell Bitcoin USDT right now? Okay, and what I do is I collect all this information and I filter it in such a way that it shows me which exchange offers the best price and so on. And I include all of the exchanges here because I just want you to see how what this can actually do, right? So at the end of this, it will return a data frame. I'm going to call it BTC USDT example, right? And I'm going to save this CSV to desktop. Why am I doing this? Just to show you guys what can be done. And when I run this file here, all right, so what we're doing again, we're querying the best Bitcoin USDT price across all of these exchanges. And here it is, our CSV file. And just out of interest, right? So what I've done, what this data frame actually is, right now, the best exchange for me to buy Bitcoin USDT on is on the OKX exchange, right? I can actually buy 0.01 BTC on the OKX exchange right now for this price, right? So when I actually queried the data in the first place, and simultaneously at the exact same time, there is a buy order on the OKCoin exchange for 15,931 euro at a volume of 3.6 Bitcoin. So in that moment in time, it was possible to actually buy 0.01 BTC on the OKX exchange because these are sell orders, right? So somebody has actually placed a sell order at 15,805. So I could buy that order, which is the volume on that. It's minimal, but still 0.101 BTC. And at the same time, simultaneously sell up to 3.6. But let's say for argument's sake, I just bought 0.01 BTC on OKX. And you can sell on the OKCoin exchange. How this would work in reality is you need to hold funds on the different exchanges. But I mean, a lot of portfolio managers right now that are holding Bitcoin are also going to be holding some form of fiat currency. And rather than just having those lying there without doing any work, it's possible to automate trades based on these metrics. So I just thought you might be interested in seeing this. This is ordered, right? So I ordered it from best to worst. Like right now, it would not be very good to buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin USDT anyway on these exchanges because I could buy it at a much cheaper price on OKX. And similarly, when it comes to selling, right now, it would be best to sell on the OKCoin exchange because of the price compared to these other exchanges. And that was just in that moment of time when I queried for that information. And you've seen already how we can actually I can parse through this data without giving away too much. You can parse through this data and then place trades based on that logic. So yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to get through, I guess, in terms of the Quant SDK demonstration. I hope it was okay for everybody and that you were able to follow through. And for those more experienced traders, yeah, I mean, at least you know what the capabilities of this are, I really think it's so cool to be able to access historic market data so easily, and how easy it actually is to place trades, but also simulate them once you've found a trading strategy that you wish to investigate. Okay, so that's all for me in terms of the webinar. So I'm just going to introduce to you now Thomas Langbein, who's head of sales and business development. So we're open for some questions and answers. So yeah, if there's any questions, I'm going to have a look now and see if there's any questions that you guys have had during this webinar. And yeah, so that's all for me. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you very much, Chris, for this very insightful demonstration of the Quant SDK. I think now we should have all kind of better understanding what the opportunities of the quant trading are, and what the Quant SDK can to be used for. So I think it's quite impressive how many different functions you've already shown just in the last 30 minutes. And yeah, I guess this might be a very interesting tool for all of you involved in asset management and quant trading in the market. So now we would like to pass down to our questions and answers section. You are again invited to place your answers via our WhatsApp channel. You can see right now the icon, the QR code on the screen, and if you scan that, you can just place your questions in our WhatsApp chat group. So I've seen there are already some questions in our chat group. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, so we have a question in terms of how many coin pairs do you have available, and actually it's very much just a case of the development team enabling trading on those pairs. We have access to trading on all pairs on any of the connected exchanges. So if a token is listed on an exchange, then we can trade that. We just need to input the ticker. So for example, when I was buying Bitcoin, the ticker was BTC. If you wanted to buy Link, the ticker is LINK. It doesn't matter. Once it's listed on the exchange, you can actually trade that token. So in terms of how many pairs do we have available, it just very much depends on the exchange to have it available, and then we can trade on that exchange with that pair. Yeah. Another question in terms of when you want to sell with optimal distribution, you need to hold a certain amount. So we have a question, sorry, just so everybody's following. In order to sell a coin on several exchanges with optimal distribution, you need to hold a certain amount of all coins on all exchanges, right? In short, do you use a liquidity provider? Okay, so right now, the current setup, you need to, yes, have the funds on the exchange if you wish to trade. So, and again, you can simulate a trade and it will show you the optimal distribution based on where funds should be. And also you have the option of simulating it with the trades that you actually have right now. And it will still optimize based on the funds that you currently have, right? So it will still scan the connected order. It will look at your funds, look at the order book depth, and a trade based on the funds that you have available on your connected exchanges. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly see.
I think on this point, we can also add, there are basically two options to use the Quant SDK and as well the core and the matrix. So the first one you just described, Chris, it's connecting your own exchange accounts to our solution. And then you obviously would have to fund all your accounts before you are able to trade. But the second option we also offer is a cooperation with a liquidity provider in the market, where you can connect to this liquidity provider, a broker, and use their liquidity in the market. So it's easier to access, yes, the exchange accounts and place your orders there. That's the second option you have, of course.
Yeah, and another question that we received is approximately how many functions are included in the Quant SDK? Off the top of my head, I don't know, but any trading functionality that you wish to use, we can do that. So if you want to, in terms of accessing data, you can access open, high, low, close data. You can access volume weighted average price data. We can post simulated orders, market orders. You can also query funds on exchanges. So if you want to actually query, okay, what funds do I have on my exchange? You can do that. As well as that, you can track the status of orders. Maybe about 10 functions, but the beauty is that you're given so much scope to actually use those functions. So what we're trying to do is provide you with the tools to trade in such a way that it's made as easy as possible, and we give you as much information as possible in the responses so you can parse the data. Let's say you're interested in order book data and you want to trade based on the ratio of price differences between different exchanges. Yeah, you can do that. So yeah, it's very much just providing you with all the tools necessary to implement whatever strategies you wish, and similarly provide you with the data so that you can actually test the strategy in the first place before bringing the strategy live. Okay.
There's another question that just came in. It's, can we access technical indicators for trading strategies?
Can we access technical indicators for trading strategies? Through the Quant SDK right now, no, you can't, but you can incorporate, you have the option to determine what indicators you want, right? Because what we do is we provide you with the data, but trading strategies can vary so much depending on what you want to look at. Are you looking at, for example, some sort of chain analysis where you're looking at, okay, what are the top 10% of the holders of this token, if you want to track their trades, or if you're interested in moving average prices, things like that. Like when it comes to on-chain analysis, you can incorporate that by simply looking for your indicators and importing the Quant SDK to actually place the trades based on those indicators. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Chris, for the insightful presentation. And thank you all once again for participating in today's webinar. We're happy that you've accompanied us, and we hope that you have learned a thing or two about quantitative trading. Definitely, this is a trading modality that is increasing its importance among institutional and investors, and it's showing great potential to generate more revenues. If you'd like to contact us to discuss, in the next slide, you will see it. If you'd like to contact us to discuss all this business opportunity, please follow the QR code on the left side of the screen. And if you'd like to download the fact sheet of the Quant SDK, please scout the one on the right one. Thank you all for coming once again, and we hope you keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. It was a pleasure to have you on the call today.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.